Hey guys, welcome to the ELO series. We're playing this game called Shirk. It's a visual novel. I found it because of Wikipedia. But yeah, I play like 2 or 3 sides. But yeah, I love the artwork. I love the music. It's pretty good. The poop. Chapter 1. Okay. Fitcher was born into a world of mold, roaches, bug bites, bottles. Wait, can you hear me? That's not all of it. Actually, it's 2 left for me. Blood. A ritualistic habit. Fitcher sits upright, asleep in her bed, waiting for something to register that kickstarts her heart and head into action. Usually the sound of a door closing, followed by the sound of an engine. Within seconds, she is up and on a bicycle, teeth brushed, hair neat and face washed, backpack hopefully not forgotten. Fitcher pulls off this feat at 6:30 in the morning 5 times a week. I rode across broken sidewalks and on one-way through fairs that people pass through both ways. Construction golems feigning work, and the elderly eyes open and wide trying to micromanage the last of their days by sitting on porches, smoking Pall Malls and glaring outward, making up for a lifetime of ignored time and lost memories. Those are crazy. There's a particular type of stillness in the morning and a real sense of disquiet in the hush. The world is waiting, anticipating for someone else to start before it moves. Usually dappled sun shines plucked through the clouds, clearing the tension before anyone else can get a jump on it. By the time I get to school, the anticipation follows me still. The sun not yet visible. I am the center of my own universe. The air is cold and bitter, and on the way to school I hate shivering. She pulls into an ugly brick building, locks her bike, and heads into the double-doored entrance. She opens the door and closes it quickly behind her, tunnel visioned away from another student she's never seen before, walking in after. Effectively slamming a stranger's head into steel. What? What is this? Effectively slamming a stranger's head into steel in an effort to save herself from being mildly uncomfortable for a second more. Damn. Yo, just smacking people. What the hell? Okay. The stranger clutches her head for a few seconds and stands up, stares forward, looking Fitcher in the eyes with an intense nothing, and continues walking, looking down at her shoes, up and through the hallway until she's out of sight. Her arms still on her side, a movement with each step in a particular gait. Fitcher watches her through all her movements. The girl is particularly pretty in a way that Fitcher has not a hard time describing or understand. There's just something different about her. Fitcher thought she smelled good. This was the conclusion that she came to. That's it, that makes sense. She mumbled to herself, softly sucking her fist into her other hand in a display of discovery, and walked to the cafeteria. First period wouldn't start for another hour. Why are you going to school that early? Each second until the morning bell rang, she thought about the stranger. An hour early in school? I get to school like 1 minute early. I'm glad she sat down, unzipped her backpack, pulled out a notebook and a pencil, opened the notebook, and stopped paying attention to whatever the teacher was saying. Sleeping upright, waiting for some dialogue cue subconsciously. A slacking sleeper agent, pencil in hand, never running. Around 50 minutes after class began, another teacher brought in a new student who couldn't find her class. It said she had been crying, but she breathed very carefully, trying not to faint in a stuttered breathing. Huffing, calming down, face still and breathless. The teacher pointed to the back of the classroom and told the new student to take a seat. Fitcher thought to herself, how lucky. Girl, smells good near me. Class continued on. Fitcher kept watching the new student who hadn't been introduced yet. This is she was not even there. Truancy be damned. Fitcher felt a small little burn in her body whenever she looked side-eyed toward the new student. The new student pulled out an unremarkable notebook, the name Finch written on it. Virginia Finch? Toronto reference. She never wrote a word. Classmates began packing up their things. The bell rang. Hold on, wait a minute. Show me your schedule. I'll take you around soon. Did you get Finch? Finch kept looking forward, falling slightly in the step behind Fisher, following, watching how other students moved and spoke. I was born in Connecticut. Oh my lord. We moved. Is Connecticut bad? We just moved because of my dad's job. Fitcher kept peeking back to steal glances and make sure she wasn't getting swept up between other students. She made a noise of confirmation that she was in fact listening. Well, Missy, you're good company here. Just stick to me and we'll be on our way towards what exactly? Fitcher didn't know. She'd like to know. Towards the end of the day. Then we're gonna lose, right? Didn't you get here at the same time as me? I wandered around. I just kind of watching, looking at people, waiting for a cue or something to tell me where to go. Not really thinking of much. I lost track because of time and the room numbers. Well, they don't make sense, so I sat down and cried until someone brought me to a class. The next bell rang and the sounds of steps faded into rooms and the voices in those rooms quelled. The artwork's crazy. Fisher looked at Finch's schedule and she knew that God loved her and her alone. The entire world before her was made to be as good as a man could make. That's really funny. Yeah. Oh, you guys in the US have 7 classes each day. That's crazy. We only have 4. She wanted to hold the new student's hand, but felt weird about it. It'll make navigating easier, but she was keenly aware of her hand's sweat now. Girls often touch girls, right? They walked into the next class without problems, and the next, and then it was lunch. I like the transitions. Fitcher couldn't stop staring at Finch. She kept thinking about things she'd never thought of before, feelings of everything and nothing, vague fires burning and definitions she didn't know the words for. It's still blindside and frustration. The best she could make sense of was what she wanted to bite Finch, but not in a painful. What the hell? These furries, but the Schmeat. Finch must be okay. That's funny. No, that sounds too feral. That's and every once in a while the school's rusted air conditioner would blow some Finch towards Finch, pressing her fragrance into her. The tiny burn steadily grew. That's what is it? This must be what it's like to make a best friend, Fitcher thought. So strange, so odd. Milk. A program that presents the inorganic staple of American culture, paraded as good for kids. The drum of prices so dairy farmers is based. So dairy farmers were made more to feed the troops during World War II. A thing that shouldn't be here or even drank by people right here, chilled. That's based. I love milk though. Yeah, it's also protein, but this is based. Milk is not. That's based. A wonderful and amazing thing to be made permanent in front of me. A symbol of suburban America now, rivaled only by cigarettes and cul-de-sacs, and all for free. Yeah. I don't know what suburban America's like. Fisher was a big fan of it. Yo, I love milk too. A good musing. She stood up Finch's unopened carton on the tray. The cafeteria, when not in use during this 45-minute block-in, was also the place where the school held gym and school-wide presentations twice per year. Twice per day she had to come here, and only one of those was a routinely pleasant experience. Maybe today would make it too. Finch ate annoyingly slowly. What? Meek and feeble, not enjoying any particular thing, she ate like a chore. Fitcher disliked eating in groups and the act of eating itself, but this was alright. What? Okay. Finch ate like a proper schoolgirl attitude, a virtue learned in the moment by Fisher. Damn. ... What? Fisher didn't know how to ask for the carton. She watched Fish stand up, a lanky expression of a character, articulately mannequin, with her tray tossing the milk and putting the tray on the stack above the can of the trash can in one jordan movement. Oh. See that? A great tragedy. Subsided only by the gift of watching Finch stretch and look at her with a waiting expression, asking without speaking as if she wanted to walk around, staring into Fisher. Fisher thought Finch looked especially soft and warm. The air outside had... There's no more music. The air outside had warmed up. Oh, never mind. Warmed up and became animated. Planes flew overhead, leaving behind white trails. Unpleasant brick structures masking as important locations for community development, education, business lined both where they stood and the outside, cut only by a cheap metal fence and freeway. Unsaturated and unfinished city planning, incompetent at best. Malicious networks of what can be described as the hub made feature have a particular look at this. Wait, hold on. This grammar's kind of weird. It's like run-on sentences. Unsaturated and unfinished city planning, incompetent at best. Malicious networks of what can be described as the hub-made feature have a particular look of discontent whenever she stood outside the school gates in her own neighborhood. Rotting houses and empty people would wave and smile when she sat on the gate of swing sets, pondering infinitely, looking inwards, blankly staring outwards into a totally flat horizon. The sun replaced by billboards and fast food signs. Oh, this is America. The sky was a little bit brighter today. The sun had been replaced by the person sitting next to her. Oh, it began to become difficult to look at Finch. Jane and Finch, they sat on the swing sets, lolling back and forth in pensive hang fire. So what do you do around here? She put her hand to her mouth in contemplation. She had forgotten herself. Sometimes I dig around. I made that hole in the fence that's in front of us. I usually just hang out in between here and there, and I do a whole lot of thinking, read, draw, kinda. I more or less just vegetate until it's time to go home. That's fair. I mean, when you're home, I vegetate in a different way. Ooh, you me. It's like I'm waiting for something to happen. I don't know how to describe it, but it's better. Describe it better. It's like I'm wishing and putting all my effort into biding my time. But I don't know for what. I feel like something is gonna happen and I gotta be prepared for it. Like I'm not even bored even. It's like I do things that cut into the backyard side of the neighborhood, climb up and down trees, skip rocks and ditches, but I'm not doing anything. I'm just buying time until the next day. Is something gonna happen soon? I don't know. It feels like it though. Some great cataclysm, an earthquake, storms of some kind. Like the world's gonna end if I ever stop focusing when I have control. Would you want something to happen? I think so, yeah. A cloud moved above them, illuminating the blacktop, light casting into Fitch's hair. I move a lot due to my dad's work. I think that I never have actually felt like I'm waiting for something. I feel like I'm out there somewhere waiting to a root so I can figure out some great universal truth. I don't exist yet, I haven't been born. I'd like to go to college eventually so I can choose where I stay and for how long. I'm just not an idiot. I would like to see the world end. Oh my god. I don't think I can make that happen. Think you can make someone else exist instead? Probably, I'd have to figure out first. The two came to an invisible conclusion, both speaking and hearing, but not really understanding. Why? A gust of wind muted Fitcher. What? I said I'd like to figure out how. Fitcher felt a knot in her stomach, but didn't know why. A second bitter wind pushed Finch off the swing set when she wasn't paying attention. Finch made a very cute sound when she hit the ground, Fitcher thought. She walked over to help Finch, but she laid there, staring upwards with no intent to get up. It was like she had been there this entire time. The bell rang. Plastic chains, sweaters, leggings, shampoo, diplomas. 3 more bells rang. Oh my god, the artwork. Wait, this is like... kind of effects of that. He's grilling. Each time Fincher navigated the halls with Finch in tow, pointing out features of the school, names of the teachers, teaching how the schedule works. Each time Finch looking at Fincher and nodding, seemingly grateful but never smiling. Fincher had a hard time looking at Finch directly in the eyes. It felt like her head would explode if she stared too long. A cosmic horror and anxious spell. The final bell rang and peers and underclassmen alike began moving as a collective herd towards the front doors, side doors, gates, and alleys, all on their way to go home. Fincher had gotten used to sitting and waiting for everyone else to leave so she could leisurely ponder her own life's status of ennui uninterrupted on the ride home. It wasn't like she had any reason to rush home anyway. That's what I do. Hours after the bell no, maybe not hours, I don't do after hours. Hours after the bell and after even the staff would go home, they'd see the usual sulking Shalom making a note of it and saying be safe before leaving. When do you get picked up? I have to bike back. Oh, me too. Wanna stay for a bit then? Fincher opened up her notebook and invited Finch to doodle with her to kill some time. I'm not a very good drawer. Try, it'll be cool, she said, shoving a pencil into the grip of Finch. Halfway between the action, it registered that she touched her hand. It was incredibly soft and warm. She'd been correct. In that moment of realization, she snapped her hand back and looked guilty. Did I do some? No, Finch picked up the pencil that had been thrown, sat back down, and touching the shoulders of Fincher, who was now uncomfortably aware of the smell of her own sweat. Yo. She began to draw a vague animal listlessly, each movement conservative. Yo. It was. Okay, this is really fun. I like that. It was somewhat mammalian, perhaps dog-like. Fincher laughed at the funny little guy. Finch watched Fincher laugh unmoved. That's a funny little guy. What was that supposed to be? A badger? This is cool. I can see it. You wanna know how to draw it like me? Here, watch. Fincher began to draw her magnum opus, the total sum of every day of every year she had lived so far, the accumulation of a lifetime's knowledge and products of her environment, all coalescing into something she would consider very, very important. Finch watched each movement, each muscle, each finger and hand flick and swipe. Anticipation grew into anxiety, and anxiety turned to pressure, making each of Fincher's strokes carry a weight that if she messed it, she would die and the entire world would explode. After a painful, silent and gusty, some odd minutes. Oh, that doesn't make sense. A mediocre badger was born on the page. It's not a mediocre badger. Okay, She flipped the notebook onto her stomach, faced an outward, and stared right into Fincher's eyes, waiting for a response, a specific kind of response. Okay. This looks really odd. Okay, I actually like that. That's really nice. Finch tilted her head as a copy gesture from somewhere as she spoke. This was a great response, but not the one Fincher anticipated. But what was she anticipating? What did she want? It was the same thing that she wanted when she watched Finch wander inside the morning. What was it? Fincher damned God for making her socially dance in particular ways. Oh my. She looked inward inwards while constructing a thank you in her throat. She wanted a hug, a physical thank you. She wanted specifically to be touched by Fincher in a non-accidental way. Thank you. You look exhausted. Fincher was dumbfounded by her own revelation that she had felt, but not know. Can you draw me? Oh my. Finch noticed the sun started to go down. Never mind. See you tomorrow. She stood up roughly, put on her backpack, and waved at Fincher, bending her body as if she pretended to not be seen, emitting a small, concise, hidden wave, all without moving a single part of her face. Fincher, still lost in thought, waved back slowly, presently enamored by the girl she had hit in the head with a door several hours prior. What did it all mean, she thought. The world was no longer going to end. She had saved it, a great discovery made that would save all of mankind, all bundled up inside the girl named Fincher. What was Finch? Steadily less and less kids hovered around in the front of the school. The sun outing now fully set over Fisher. She, uh, she sat, she sat still, tapping her hands down figures across her sky and Burbank, staring forward with no intention of looking, lost in self-prescribed melancholia, dying of hate and boredom, waiting. The outside of an ugly brick building that housed both elementary and middle school students was starting to gain an appeal. A place where she had spent a third of her awake life, all without intention or will. Waiting for something to happen, waiting to be picked up, spoken to, heard, seen, recognized, conferred some sort of something to be given substance, had finally roared her bit. So, this is middle school or elementary school, this is not high school. The air stopped moving and Fisher was now alone in a new set of thoughts again. Was this her purpose? Was Finch a great something to be gained? What does Finch think of me, her only friend so far? The words so far repeated in her head. She chewed on her nails, her stare unbroken forward and brows furrowed. I have to be the only one, she thought. Her chest was airy and in flames, driven with a purpose to be touched, to be wanted, and the only one desired. As a friend, of course. She put her hand to her chest, limp wrist miming declaration, eyes closed. She thought about the way Finch smelled until she unlocked her bite, sitting under the school's damn sodium street lamps that were covered in moth and cricket humming. That might be Fisher. That night, Fisher dreamed of hunting and cigarettes spotted by porch lights, getting in the way of whatever she was tracking, but offering a warm and dry bed if she ever felt like giving up. Yeah. The next morning she left before her mother, her heart raced and eyes wide. Chapter 2. This music is crazy. It's inspiring me, man. This game is inspiring. The city they lived in had one school branch, a connected elementary and a middle, and then a high school not too far out from the central network of angry people in little cars, all wishing death on another as they crossed from work to home, all perpetually never truly growing up. They never stopped being children, covered in creases, welts, furrows, skin tight, tumors, awful children, schoolgirls, but children all the same because there's no way to live other than as a child. It is the default state of man. A good examination, Fisher thought to herself, looking out of her bedroom window. Fisher had always been alone. It wasn't her fault she had been born an unlovable child. She had always she had been saved by a midwife's quick thinking. Her mother made her body wrap a cord around her neck in a utero. Oh, this moving, that artwork is crazy. People looked at Fisher weird as if she was an insect, a worthless slug with nothing to offer. A short power stunt in a neighboring district's elementary school, where she grew up left her with elementary school where she grew up left her with the sense that she could be a leader, a son for other people to follow. Through her words and actions they would inspire and incite others to be doing what she felt first. Yeah, look at this artwork. Wow. When she had to move between the 5th and 6th grade, she lost any amount of sway. The magic in her words vanished and she was left stranded, watching others interjecting into their conversation solely in her head. Oh my. Many quips, rebuttals, aphorisms, and great wisdoms were slowly heard by her in the confines of her own imaginary pomegranate garden. Entire lifetimes passed and went, watching everyone else to get together, laugh, ignite each other's passions, and drive them toward becoming full humans. She viewed herself as different and special, a treasure that had not yet been found, genius untapped by never trying and afraid of starting, only to then lose the title of would-be genius. She had been told by teachers that she had potential if she just tried. Counselors would pull her out of class, worried that she would commit some sort of grave act, as nothing is more dangerous than a strange kid left to their own devices with no one to speak to. Damn, okay. She would wake up to a house of roaches, broken windows, and mother incapacitated by exhaustion and a mix of prescribed drugs. Dialogue with her mother was one-sided, brief and infuriating. Her mother would vegetate just like she did, couch locked in her own head, unable to perceive the outside world outside of the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Her father has visited home ever since they moved out of his apartment a few years ago. Mankind had abandoned Fitcher for each of their individual needs and wants. She was simply not wanted. She assigned herself to the title of damned and waited for something to happen. She never became bitter. She chose instead to live a life of inactivity and fence sitting, comfortably agreeable and totally forgettable. Damn, okay. Each night was ended with a TV dinner and hours spent looking outside windows. She liked to make herself feel bad. Fisher compared herself to great martyrs, patiently and willingly suffering for a greater cause. At some point, she thought she ought to be rewarded. Fitcher felt like it was too late in her academic and social career to make friends. She waited until she moved out of town. Then she put on her true persona, like she'd be likable, cautious, and kind and intelligent and hardworking, an ugly duckling to be converted. This is deep. At some point, yeah. Later, this world was just not made for me until now. Fisher rolled in her bed daily, holding a yellow pillow, infatuated, rocking back and forth, living in daydreams as the smell of rain lulled her to sleep, free from her own bastardized images of herself. That night she dreamt of being held in between the arms of the breast of a girl who looked very similar to Finch. They spoke of marriage, children, and where they wanted to live. Fawning over one another, her hearts calm and imbued with an equanimity as they looked like pale limbs and honey-hued shoulders. Hands resting on each other's juvenile breasts in passionate recognition. She woke up feeling warm and vaguely loved, but couldn't remember what she dreamed about. Okay. She saw a roach on top of the microwave in the morning, moving its antennas in a way that was overly human. Sometimes she wished bugs were more sentient so they could feel real fear in the moments before she killed them. She swished its head with her fingers. Maybe this one used to be human too. Chapter 3. Fitcher waited sitting by the side of the front school door like a dog. She imagined what it would be like to have a tail. Would it make her body language more readable? What would Finch's tail look like? Would it wag for her? She pulled her legs into her chest and sat even more like a dog, imagining herself with fangs and fur, patiently waiting for her purpose to walk through the double metal doors and recognize her. Yes, you do exist. I see you and you. You are my reason for entering these doors. If you did not exist, I would not come. I would not move. I would not wake up and continue. She put her legs on and put her hands on her sides when the teacher entered, embarrassed, caught up in her head, not realizing she was performing a monologue with all the mannerisms attached, mouth moving, words without speaking. Uh-oh. A fool. Eventually Finch walked through the door, Fitcher's face glowing when she locked eyes with her. Finch stood in front of her, waiting for directions like a dog. The act of asking for waiting together was the only thing that Fitcher understood so far when she looked at Finch. Jenna Finch, what did she have to offer? The thought kept her up the night before a bit. What could secure Finch as her own? She came to no conclusion, but she felt like a parasite. Here, let's lock arms so we don't get lost. A fantastic excuse. They walked, hitched, hip to hip. Naive as pervert red, and flustered, she tripped over her words. Small talk turned spike traps and dialogue options carrying the true weight. An invisible heart flew above Finch's head. With each wrong answer and with each failed read of her still muted face, it'll grow a shrink. Hold on. The side of Finch's arm constantly brushed and pushed against Finch's breast. Surely God loved her. I gotta close all these. Sorry about the background noise. Finch pretended not to notice. Instead, she would look up and count how many vinyl panels were missing from the ceiling. She wasn't confused or flustered. This was practice awkward gesture. Bells rang and lectures went unheard until they sat in the cafeteria eating. Why is it so empty? Do you talk with anyone else? No, not really. Why? There's some people I don't really get. I don't know what it is, but they don't want to be near me. It's like I've tried, but after enough time, people just more or less push me away. It's like they purposefully wiped their memory of me after enough interactions. Am I weird? Oh damn, this is his too. I really don't know what I'm doing wrong. She bit her tongue and thought about a future where she couldn't see Finch, making herself upset. I don't think you're weird, not yet. Fisher tilted her head to convey that she was joking. Fisher missed the cue. Finch looked just as confused, a failed mistress caught by muted body language and a dry joke. She felt a little bit worse, and for what? She didn't know why she was thinking about the end of something she barely knew. I just made her lose appetite for a few seconds, looking down and sulking. I'm joking. Finch was stressed, leaning down and picked up her tray, milk unopened. Fisher in that moment got over herself and picked the carton out of that tray. What if milk was called? Never mind. What does that mean? Fisher shrugged. They headed outside, mashing steps. The air was cold today. They sat instead on the edge of their world, on the swing set bordering the limits of the fence, overlooking the joint elementary school. A wave of panic set on over Fisher. Are you gonna move again? I don't know. Each time after enough time, my dad says, we're staying here this time for good. And within a few weeks, he gets assigned somewhere new. He doesn't even risk saying it anymore. Never explains why. Do you feel alone? I wouldn't say I do. I feel like it's something else. I think I know what you mean. Like a longing, right? No, it's more like I want to feel needed somewhere. Damn, okay. Important? Necessary. Like if I die, the world surrounding my body will collapse. I think you need it. Yes, I'm not suicidal, but thanks. Were you needed before you moved? I don't think so. Nobody calls me. I don't call them first. That's real. Why? You probably forgot me already. It's the nature of those who leave. I don't know. I'll eventually figure it out. Finch tried to tear up. Damn, she clenched her fist against her legs. She bit her bottom lip and her quivered dry. A lead weight sank into Finch's body. She couldn't move. She heard her own heartbeat course through her head and all thoughts became muted. Looking at Finch, who was trying to control her breathing, foggy-eyed and remembering. A gentle wind and a handful of leaves sent a chill into her spine, and lifetimes of inherited emotional wisdom pulled her arms around Finch, patting her head, making shushing noises, pretending not to be each other, strangers, recipient and sender. An eternity and a few minutes passed, and the world around them reopened. Finch rubbed her eyes against Fisher's chest. There was no excitement, only guilt. Birds called. Nobody cried. I'm sorry. No, it's fine, my bad. Okay, let's walk back. Bell's gonna ring. Finch extended her arm, waiting for her to wrap hers around. I can feel we're doing, Fincher. Finch looked routinely disinterested, but not dismissive of the touching. No smile, no grimace, anger, discontent, annoyance, acceptance, or the like. No emotion was present. Her words and observation told us I half choked. What? It began to rain. Finch would make herself needed. Chapter 4. Physical education be damned, there's no education in it. The routine of having to change clothes in front of others, sweating overzealous former rejected draft dodging nuts, little men with big egos, who through a pure failure of checks and luck are in charge of making sure that me and each student gains a lifelong aversion to both health and authority, and sweating. Oh my god, this is so base, man. I hated phys ed. Maybe I'm just weird. I thought it was weird for not like phys ed, but I usually opt out of whatever the given thing is, choosing instead to walk laps and have imaginary dialogue in my head with hypothetical people about hypothetical things, running only with when a coach is looking, cursing in each clumsy stride until they swap their attention to some other slacker. Damn, that's what I did too. A giant Technicolor cloth was sprayed out across the floor. What am I, a child? I haven't seen one of these in years. Thunder rumbled and the sound of percussive metal echoed through the halls, walking up to the cafeteria gym. Wind pushed through the edges of the doors. The smells of wet dirt hung pleasantly. Coach blew his whistle from the far side of the cafeteria in front of the stage, shorter than the steps that led up to it, shouting at the group of kids, telling them to go get changed already. They felt different. Underneath the parachute, I saw her without oh no, not a foot fetish. The two walked into the girls' bathroom with the rest of them, the only two people that existed in their world were themselves. All the other abstracted into vague interpretations of people. A total focus on how each was seen by the other. Nobody else existed, no one else spoke. The others reduced to breathing meat obstacles, existing only in flesh and nothing more. Telepathy would be lost on everyone else but Fitcher and Finch. Fitcher snapped into gym shorts and a blank white t-shirt. A deliberate and precise and practiced set of movements. Not a second of skin showing, even to the walls. Finch faced the walls and fumbled with his set of gym clothes, not turning back to see if Fitcher was looking in their direction. Fitcher took her own hint and stared down at her worn pair of sneakers and listened instead. She heard the sound of fabric moving. The images in her head had to be a reality. She followed the rules of movies and looked in the sink mirrors towards Finch and saw her back. A pale, supple back. Oh my god. She imagined putting her hands on her hips and just holding them there. The long fluorescent bulbs flickered. Finch turned around, t-shirt and dolphin shorts on, seeing if Fitcher had gone back out yet. Fitcher's face was red, cutting back down to her shoes. Finch cut under into her line of sight, waving her hand over Fitcher's eyes in front of Anna. Hey, hey. When they walked around with the rest of the class, when they walked out with the rest of the class, they walked around and picked even spots around the giant rainbow tarp. Coach had to take off her shoes and line them up by the door. I don't understand why, but it was alright with me. Finch followed when Fitcher kicked off her shoes into the corner, but carried them there instead. A delicate walk, placing no weight in each step, like she was being carried. Fitcher walked each soft footfall, reading her legs, how they moved. How frail and dainty, how did those legs carry such an important person? She was weightless and her back a perfect arc as she placed them down. Oh, there's an H at the end of this. Maybe that's in Canada. It was as if she were performing for an audience and deliberately choreographed. I'm just gonna enjoy it. To choreograph set of moves to showcase everything she was and everything Fitcher wanted. As a friend, of course. They started fluttering the tarp up and down, the class collectively confused as to why they were doing something they hadn't done in years, but accepting that it was better than running. I like running. The tarp started taking shape above them, then grabbed the edges and ducked under. Finch's face was painted with the technicolor, staring directly at Fitcher, waiting for something directionless and unreadable. Her legs were tucked under her body, standing sideways towards Fitcher. She looked at Fitcher, still with some form of intent. Fitcher couldn't figure out what kind of intent. She had no response. An answer was never spoken to a question never asked. They did not stop watching each other as the parachute deflated. The class ducked out from under, grabbed the edges, and fluttered back into shape again. And again they sat watching, waiting for something. Fitcher watched how Finch's legs would move, noting their curves and length. How everything about her that she could see was unobtrusive and bordering on perfection. Finch continued to move closer each time the parachute went up and down. Their classmates stagehands for a play that was going on in front of them without words. Unknowingly, the bell rang. They changed quickly, paying each other no mind, half naked and exhausted from the invisible game. Does she want to touch me? Fincher thought. Am I me to her? While Finch wasn't looking, she cried over as she gets her face hot. They walked to the next class together, lightly brushing each other in the lockers under the guise of one-sided roughhousing and a friendly banner. Finch felt her heart race and stopped looking upwards, counting ceiling tiles, opting instead to do something else. She didn't dislike it. Chapter 5. They sat in each other's company. I drink water. They sat in each other's company outside again and underneath dimly lit gray skies, touching shoulders, scribbling on a notebook that had only been consciously doodled in, sparse with words scribbled, falling asleep, scattered around, underlines and random marks and notes about on due days. Drop me, please. Alrighty. As she shuts the drawer, staring at the shapes, planes, and light that make up Finch's face, the words love comes to the front of her thoughts, unflustered and determined to both draw and solve the problem until she's known ever since she watched her yesterday. Fincher doesn't make her thoughts readable, it's simply a thought isolated, a sequence of checks that brought up that word, exasperated by a sense of want. I want to be held, to hold, to touch, and to be touched. A mutual contract and mutual contact. There was something more. Her hand moved robotically, each mark and touch to the best of her ability, only looking down to make sure that the pencil was still moving. She saw the outline of the light of her nose, how her chin and head made a perfect, ideal, winsome shape. A mutual contract that I touch and she touches. That she wanted to touch me. I've known her for 2 days. Her heart floated, her face still furrowed and concentrated. Is this love? Do I like this person? She couldn't recall someone else receiving her in this way. Finch was affectionate self beyond tolerance and meandering and social games where people speak in half-truths. Finch was honesty, Finch was sincerity, sanctity, a perfect person. Fincher outlined the shape of Finch's hair, leaving out holes where the light passed through. Finch started to move, no longer a statue, and pressured by a penetrating gaze that looked beyond her and outlined her every feature, good or bad. How do I ask? What do I ask? Fincher couldn't find an answer because she didn't know the question. Her hand kept moving. She felt uneasy and incomplete, bothered by the inability to properly come to any sort of conclusion other than deep rooted desire. She made some final marks on the page and showed it to Finch. That's the badger. That's the badger with the. Okay, I like this a lot. It looks just like me. Damn. Fincher was looking at how her lips didn't curl as she spoke monotonously, how her freckles sat still, and the way that she carried herself while speaking. There were no flaws. There was nothing there except pure hushed elegance. When I draw me, she handed over the notebook, looking past Finch behind her, still ruminating. She has spent years dissociating with everything to walk without intent and pursue nothing with meaning. Everybody was simply too far away. Falsehoods of kindness, instinct, insincerity, and deceit were all part of the games that other people played. Everybody was afraid of each other, and social groups are entirely built on tolerability. She saw adults play the same game, her teachers complaining about administration complaining about teachers. Janitors chipping the sensei, her mother blaming her father, her father staying past his welcome to try and help raise the kid. She felt like Finch was incapable of playing the game. Finch was weird in the same way, different. She thought about telepathy. She moved in a little bit closer to give you a better look. If she could read in her mind, she would know she was weird in the same way. She prayed to God in her mind, slowly clasping her hands together to ask for a gift at this moment, to experience what Finch sees, what she experiences. What is her act of being like? How else would she know if she was weird, unconventional, odd? Asking isn't experiencing, and hearing isn't listening. She needed more. God did not respond. Are you weird? What? Are you like different? What do you mean? Do people look you in the eyes? Only you. Strange. In a good way. Love, mental embarrassment from her own thoughts, and the internal ignition of a great engine brought Fincher to be unable to keep looking towards Finch or sit still. Wait, I'm almost done drawing here. Oh yeah, she thought, I forgot she said. Here, look. The drawing was a good try. The notebook was now more valuable than gold. Oh wow. This is fantastic. I want to kiss her feet at that. Freckles, sweat, pencils, ESP, light with a chapter 6. She parked her bike on the edge of the rented 2-bedroom house, whose new paint was beginning to peel, and walked inside, met with an intense smell of dog piss. Oh, look at that. This is so fun. Dog. Dog, I don't know. A dog. A dog, no I can't. A little dog jumped up onto her legs, bobbing up and down with each step further she took into the house, knocking over a baseball bat by the door. The little dog's jumps went unacknowledged. It was as if the dog wasn't even there. Finch looked forward, determined to follow an invisible routine. She placed her backpack in a particular spot and carefully took off her shoes and placed them in a particular way. She walked into the kitchen. Her sock became wet. She didn't move her foot, looking down and staring at the puddle and the reflection that it gave. Damn, that was a dog piss. Dog looked up with loving eyes. She opened the back door and let the dog out. She threw paper towels on the dog piss and walked back to the living room and sat on the couch, holding her hands in her lap. So quiet. She can hear that the refrigerator is on. She listens to herself breathe. She rifles through unpacked cardboard boxes in her room, taking things out and lining them up neat rows and columns as she looks for a specific book. A yearbook with phone numbers, names and addresses, farewell messages, and I love you. She thumbs to the back and walks to the house phone. She picks up and holds her finger over the number pad, shaking. A dial tone rings through the thin walls. The sounds of a car pulling in interrupts Finch's indecision, paralyzing her, staring at the door. Please not today. Keys turn locks and a vague man comes in, locking eyes with the anticipating Finch. Who called? What the hell did they say? Michael? Who is Michael? Get off the telephone right now. Finch stood up, dropping the handset unblinking. Her father woke up and spoke to the dial tone. I know you're listening. I'll kill you if you keep following and listening and harassing me. Damn, Michael. Finch, you need to stop touching the goddamn telephone. Your mother's listening in on us. Her and her CIA buddy. You know I can't disconnect it or else they'll send someone over here. He leaned over and whispered in air quotes. There are ghosts here, Finch, all around, waiting for me to fuck up. Do you want that to happen? Do you want Daddy to go away? Her father spat on the floor, frustrated at himself for getting upset. Finch's father, Michael, was always red and disheveled but never drunk. He didn't smoke neither. He moved to a different town every time he heard the words envelope is on the radio. Every time he heard the word envelope on the radio, alright. He listened every day to AMs, FMs, shortwaves, longwaves, hams and all. People said that he had angels in his head. He viewed himself as a martyr rivaling the apostles in his own divine campaign against demons and three-letter agencies. Okay, this is a good writing. His only marriage failing and after being committed by a judge. His wife will be found dead 3 days into his stay at a mental hospital. Damn. Her death pronounced a suicide with 2 bullets in the back of her head and 38 stab wounds. Oh wow. Yeah. The dog scratched the back door, wanted to be let back inside. Finch's father jumped and shouted, "Get the hell out of my doorstep!" Damn dog. He lit up a cigarette. He licked up a cigarette and locked himself in his own room. Finch stepped aside. She walked to the far end of the backyard behind unfenced garbage bins. The dog ran up to her, wagging his tail. What's the dog like? Where's the dog drawn like that, man? Oh no. She lifted her hand and closed it. She swung her fist down. What? She swung her fist down on the side of the dog's head. She didn't move any other part of her body while beating the dog. Why? No. Joe, no. Without being caught, neither smiling or crying in tears and frustration. She simply hit the side of the dog's fluffy ears and painted the stop. Why? No. Her father didn't hear the dog yelping. When it stopped crying, she picked up the dog and threw it back inside. She poured food in his bowl of clean as water, putting in ice cubes. She kneeled by the food and water, holding a treat in her hand, calling his name softly and monotonously, shaking the treat meekly. Chapter 7. She felt very stupid that morning, shaming herself over daydreams and perceptions of Finch slowly seen and experienced in her head. Embarrassment and awkwardness set in. She tried not to show it. As passed. All of it passed when Finch walked through the doors. Wow, y'all need to hear the music more. Days followed and followed again. A great nothing had happened between them. A mere pleasant existence, ineffable suspension of the world between the two as cordial friends, one who happened to blush at unintentional touching. A pressure started to build around the small little burn in Fitch's small little body. It wasn't enough. She wanted more time, more things to do, conversations to be built on and developed. She wanted to take Finch home. Red skies hung themselves over iron hills. Sound of the traffic and wails of a dying city were audible from the new metal front gates of the old brick school. Children played around chicken wire fences and stones, grass and all footsteps brushing against it. Sounds of play and lives not yet lived paraded themselves throughout the hour after the final bell rang. I sat next to Finch, my shoulder locked in place, skimming hers, waiting for a moment where she would break her glances and look away so I could ask a question. Conspicuous with intent, a contract for hours, secluded and alone within her, her face soft and flowery, a prize to be contained and held, a person to be held by and loved, a fawn to be carelessly and hopelessly, shamed, loved, infatuated, and smothered. Finch looked forward, waiting for a return she would always hesitatingly accept. Wanna come over later? Sure. Her thin arms bearing a shaped lines that inspired action, her very thin arms covered by a knitted wool sweater, pawning invisible signs on her lap, asking questions that carried more substance than my life could ever be able to produce. I was agonizingly infatuated with the girl who accepted me into her presence. Fisher forgot that her house was rotting as the words left her mouth. Meat. Ideally a mutual meat-biting. What is this? Fisher and Finch sat in a secluded area after many of the kids had left. The sound of decaying machinery, humid, hummed air conditioner fans pulsated the calls of pigeons and doves, insects and bugs. Why don't you talk to anyone else? I don't? You only speak when spoken to around others, that's what I do. You're the same, don't you? Death is... I love that cloud. I have a very specific reason. Why don't you? Well, I gotta make this my PFD here. Alright. I don't know. Was shy? No. I think you might be shy. Afraid. That's real. Why are you afraid of people? No, not people. I'm afraid of what happens if I make myself too needed. Damn. Oh my god. What about me? A goal. A trial? A trial is too dehumanizing. Maybe, though, for a while at least. What's the opposite of need? Unneed you. Unneed me. Without desire. So you want me? Weird way of putting it. So you want me to want you, so you feel needed? Sounds correct. Tell me your biggest secret then? I don't have one. No way. Oh my. This sample? All of the gardens were sprouting with flowers and all the treetops were bursting. Damn. Oh my god, this music. Were bursting with birds and all the people knew that the year was over. Oh wait, this is the sample. No, it's Wikipedia. They all laid down all their airs and hung up their tiresome words and tiresome dreams and tiresome passions for another time. The entire town let out a collective sigh, anticipating for the seasons of rain and heat and humidity to come and stop all human life. All the twisted metal stretching upwards, all pointing their little hands, smelling of rust upwards into the sky. It was time to be another creature patiently waiting for Christmas. Damn. Two girls rode fishtail with one another, the short one riding behind the tall one, both bikes used and fitted with spare parts and rusted chains. Fitcher's bike had a stolen handbasket zip tied to the front. The branch name scratched off and spray painted over. They moved in and around deliberately ruined streets, neglected buildings, horrible transformations with good intention from former Sunday school valedictorians. This music is good. Fitcher rode behind Finch, letting out flurries of one-sided giggles every time she almost fell over from hitting roadkill, holes, or park brakes. The sun pierced through treetops and milky pans. They saw authorized persons in government suits picking dog teeth out of the ground, packing them into suitcases on their way to the corner store. Men born without names or teeth smoked outside a 7-Eleven. They walked their bikes inside. They bought what they could to afford and put it into a backpack. The sunshine. They had nowhere to go. Fitcher didn't want to go home. There was no reason to. Her house an act of embarrassment. Yeah, she put it off for as long as she could in desperation concealment. They sat beneath the billboard instead. The sign read, "Repent, Mark 1:15," surrounded by flames. They continued sitting, neither bored or entertained. They simply sat in silence, eating salt, waylaying each other when they tried to speak. The people walked by in strange suits and unmarked ears. Bad shit. Further down the road, they watched a machine dig up dirt in a taped off part of the street. Lead. They're digging up lead and replacing the dirt. How'd you figure? They did it to my house when I was little. Said it came from the smelting place nearby. Used to play on that dirt a lot, but I don't really remember it. Don't think that's because of the dirt though. Fish made a noise of recognition. Used to be a big tower of the place. You could see it when you drove, no matter where you were in the city. It's gone now. The city and all the mayors were gonna build a park on top. Now there's no tower and park. The ground's all black and full of stuff. Oh. Damn, okay, the music is... I suppose there's a good reason for it. They gated it all off. Haven't seen it in a while neither. My mom said my great-grandpa worked there. Why'd they get rid of the tower? So that I could fall over one day and sweep carcinogens. Carcinogens? Okay, I guess NTR. Carcinogens. Oh. Okay, I knew it was it. Carcinogens. But they blew it up when they demolished it. Nobody remembers what they said about it anyway. People just wanted to see a spectacle and that was that. No more smokestack. Sucks. She looked at Finch with a puzzled frown, feeling a distant pity. A wind ruffled matted hair. Fitcher felt delicate and alive. They overheard old men talking about their penises. One faceless suit shouted into his phone, "Is everyone here a retard? 2 dogs had sex in the street." The sun started going down and Fitcher's heart got knocked out of its groove. It was all time to leave. Damn. What is it? She thought about how disgusting her phone was and by extension how repulsive she felt. A repulsive bug-bitten pervert. She took a bath every night and washed her clothes when she could and kept 2 toothbrushes, one for her and one just in case someone ever forgot theirs. She would always talk in the opposite direction, facing away from whoever she was speaking to just in case the tap water in her house would turn gray if she put it too hot, so she took cold baths. Would Finch take a cold bath? Would she even step foot into my house? Fitcher kept her bed warm and dry and lined up the edges of her walls with borax and sugar. She thought about what Fitcher's room smelled like. Surely it'd be flowery. She had only one bed they'd have to share, but she knew that. She questioned her own intentions. What if Finch was just as depraved? She viewed love as an absolute state of being. Does she love me? The scent of budding flowers mingled and hung in the moist air. Crickets began to chatter, and people slowly evaporated into doors and houses. The day was coming to an end. Are we still going to your house? Yeah. An alarm goes off. An alarm goes off in the Fitcher household. A shoddy half-lit clock reads 6:00. A washed-up former person groans. Covered in stuffed animals, and blankets both too big and small for her bed. Yo. The blonde woman, years beyond her prime, reaches above her head in an attempt to turn off the alarm, hitting both the alarm and knocking over a glass of something on her head. She sits up half awake and catatonic, staring with sunken eyes forward towards the TV that hasn't been turned on for days, maybe weeks. A deep breath sends the hag woman into a coughing fit. She puts on open-rimmed glasses and shambles to the bathroom. Hitting the light what is that background? Applause? Hitting the light on, two yellow lights across a strip of vanity mirror flicked on and several families of roaches all taking note, coming together and blowing in a line before ducking under cabinets, soap bottles, and holes in the wall. The sound of a shower is heard seconds later, followed by vomiting. This woman calls herself Eddie. She is 28, going on 19. What? I don't know why it's... okay, that's cool actually. I don't know why so many buy it or buy into it. She looks old. She works as a waitress at a diner which everyone knows her name. All faceless regulars and people she's never seen. For 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, she serves cold coffee, microwave leftovers, warm soda, and beer. There's rumors that she outlasts all other employees because she sleeps with her boss, but he's no father of mine. She dated a doctor once, said she was trying to get me a good father to replace that no good bum. Said she would marry the strong doctor man. Said that every child needs both parents. I only saw him once. He was naked on top of Eddie when I got home from after school. He was choking her, hitting her, saying, "You better work for what you're getting, and it's nothing new for trash like you." Oh my. I started hitting him, telling him to get out of my mom. She explained to me that this was nothing and she was just doing him a favor. One, to help the family by getting me a dad. I never saw him though again after that. My mom started acting weird after the found out I was from painkillers and that he prescribed her for her anxiety. She says she still struggles with her anxiety and depression. She just sits, sorry about the background noise. She just sits and watches TV, drooling on herself whenever I get home now. I have to be Oh, really sorry about that, guys. I had to mute. She still struggles with anxiety and depression. She just sits and watches TV drilling on herself whenever I get home now. Hold on, is the music loud enough? Yeah. Sometimes she points and laughs at me when I come home. Sometimes she pees herself. Sometimes I find her gripping knives and crying in the kitchen. Oh my. Eddie ties her hair into a ponytail, puts on a uniform black shirt and jeans that show her curves and makeup that hides her age. She stops and looks in the picture's room through an open door. Her daughter's still sleeping peacefully in a bed that she's had ever since she outgrew her crib. She tears up, fix them away, looking up and heads out the door. The sounds of an engine is heard. Picture sits up awake, half asleep and catatonic, staring forward, seeing roaches crawl under and around her poster in her room. She leans forward and squishes one with her fingers, pressing her index into the roach on the wall. Cheap plastic fans make unpleasant moans and creaks. Behind the bar stands a disheveled young man with a funny little paper hat. He looks so cute, man. He looks so cute, man. And he sits leaning her head onto her arms. The world is still coming into focus, trapped in the white noise afterglow of emotional chemotherapy. I love this guy. What did I do to deserve this? Life was supposed to be easy. What is it this time? I looked in the mirror today and I look like my mother. She died early, remember? Yeah, what is it this time? Just kind of feel like I missed out. Like my sister, she's in Peru now, her rich husband's just getting her this and that, taking her all around. She's an architect, he's an architect. Why can't I have that? I'm stuck with a kid, what's the woman to do? Why don't you just give her to her father? No, not a goddamn chance. I'd do anything to keep her out of his hands. He still tries to call me, sending us letters saying he wants to be a family. What a bitch boy. Honestly, I'm keeping her out of spite. She's like a cat anyways, she don't do none. I'd take her off your hands if you don't want her. She's a good kid. For free? Not a chance, you gotta pay me. She's my ticket to food stamps and a nice little check from the big man. I mean, I'll take the care of her. You can go run off any day, just drop her off here. You like him young? I don't know, I don't mean it, I don't mean it that way. She's real pretty, She needs a father in her life. Well, you ain't rich enough to be hers. Look at you. You're covered in grease. When's the last time you shaved? I wouldn't fuck you in a million years talking about being a father. Ha. She ain't gonna turn out right. She'll be fine. She'll take after me. My mother was a whore and look how I turned out. A freshly shaven young man with a boyish face in a parade dress uniform walked into the diner, taking off his cap and waving at the cook and Eddie, almost curtsying before catching himself in the middle. Good morning, sir and miss. Well, hello, darling, how are you? I'm doing alright. Pretty dark out still, isn't it? Chilly. The young man sits at the booth near Eddie. Excuse me, sir, could I get a coffee? Eddie stares at the cook. Yes, sir. The young man looks down at his hands thinking, maybe he pretended to... The young man looks down at his hands thinking, maybe he pretended to not be awkward. He watches the cook pour a cold cup of coffee and put it in the microwave. So, army guy, what do you do for a living? She places her hand on his. Important army guy makes a good living, no? I'm not that important. Take your time, sweetheart. I love a man in a uniform. I get by. I don't pay for rent or nothing like that, sir. Ever get lonely? Sometimes, sure. I mostly miss my mom. I got stationed far away, just home visiting for a couple of days. Eddie places her other hand on his leg, uncomfortably close. Ever get really lonely? I think sometimes, man. The cook puts down the cup of coffee in front of the two, spilling some on the table. Thank you. Ever feel like fixing that? Hey cooks, I gotta leave really quick. Think you can manage for some odd minutes? The cook stared at her without speaking. Eddie grabbed the uniform boy and took him outside. The two came back about 30 minutes later. When they came back inside, they spoke about marriage and how beautiful their new home would be some odd few hundred miles away, saying out life plans and seeing which one stuck. The cook just watched. Chapter 9. Finch and Fitcher stood on the porch of Fitcher's home. Overgrown thorn bushes covered the cracked windows. Some bleached plastic bags and cups. Newspapers and soiled clothes were woven into the lattice work of the plants that choked the house. Shoes hung over electrical wires and nests. Oh, that's how you know the hood. Shoes hung over electrical wires and nests of dead baby birds stood still, burnt on top of the tall boxes. They listened to the sound of electricity and dog fighting as they stood in front of the door, neither going on, neither leaving. Fitcher held her hand on the doorknob. I'm sorry for the mess. The two walked inside. Eddie wasn't home yet, which was pretty unusual by this time. Fitcher had other thoughts to preoccupy, worry. I am clean, I swear. I believe you. Finch stepped on a roach. She watched subtle movements echoed in each of the peeling floors and yellow walls. They came to a closed door, a hole patched with plywood, the door hanging on by the top hinges. A wood plaque on the door read Fitcher and very neatly adorned with girly images and stickers. The plaque was warped. It had been here a long time, probably written by someone else. Fitcher stood in her room, looking back at Finch with sorry eyes. Finch stood in the doorway, unsure of where she was allowed to sit or where it was safe. What do you think? Fitting. That's good to hear. Fitcher sat down on the edge of her bed, waiting for her guest to come through the doors. She patted the side of her bed without clothes on it. Finch sat down, the bed pushing the two together. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Okay. There's not much to do here. Are you hungry? Not really. Fitcher was out of ideas. Finch made Fitcher's room smell amazing. It was surprisingly flowery, permeating. Finch looked around at the damp spots of mold, dust, and odd grime on the window sills, corners covered in live webs and taped off outlets and rusted vents. She thought nothing of it and looked back to Fitcher. Fitcher kept her hands on her lap, looking downwards thinking. The two sat uncomfortably. Finch leaned back and laid on her back, looking at the mica-dazzled, shifting popcorn ceiling. She was waiting for something. She stared through the ceiling. She spoke into her own head with kinetic intentions, telepathically screaming intangible entreaties that she couldn't say. Insensible wants and impressions of words she doesn't know, trying desperately to broadcast her childish self-assertion of love. She pinches at Fisher, who is now lost in thought, emotionally destitute and pining. Her mom's not here, right? Fisher understood. Finch turned her head, looking at her own reflection in the dark window, waiting. She leaned forward, these are middle school. She leaned forward, one arm on each side, knees straddled over Finch. Finch kept looking away. She couldn't hear Finch's soft, steady breathing. Finch pulled Fisher's head into her chest and grabbed Fisher's hand. Finch ran her fingers through Fisher's greasy hair. Can I touch you? All of Fisher's life tapered to a forgettable point. Fisher held her hand over Finch's fat cotton sweater, resting her hand gently, moving Finch's breast lightly. She dug her face deeper into Finch's arm, deeply inhaling with steady breaths. She felt like a child. I was afraid to grab her. She was so delicate. I wanted to push my entire body weight onto her. I could smell her sweat. I rose my head up to kiss her, and she turned her head. She kissed my cheek, and I kissed hers. We were afraid of lips. She held me tightly. Her chest was soft. I put my hand under her sweater. She would do what I asked if I did what she asked. Awkward and clumsy movements. The smell of her chest was what I imagined a mother's would smell like. I was afraid of being caught. I lit incense to hide the smell of my room. She tasted acidic. She ignored my bug bites and scabs. I wondered if she had me in her thoughts. The sound of the air conditioner hid our conversations. I walked to suck on her breasts. I wanted to suck on her breasts. Oh my god. All the misfortunes of my tepid existence made her all the dearer to me. She called me helpless. I fell asleep in her arms. She watched me fall asleep. It was like this was her purpose. The two woke up to the sound of heavy rain. They watched the kaleidoscopic, dark imprint images on the walls. I had no thoughts, I just felt warm. We enjoyed each other's company. She didn't like being naked. They sat in a queer dullness. They felt like the world had left them behind. In the dark they were stranded. No one else was real. No one else was alive. Neither spoke, afraid that once they did, the world would continue spinning and the walls would begin listening. Fitcher listened to Finch breathe, feeling each inhale and exhale through the side of her body. She could hear her heartbeat. Steady, calm. Red and white lights crossed back and forth, illuminating the room for moments through cracked windows. I love you. Did you hear me? Yes. Say it back. I don't know how to. Fitcher stood up and reached her hand out to Finch. They walked out of the room and into the dimly lit yellow kitchen, maneuvering through boxes overfilling with random belongings and roach motels. Her mother wasn't home yet. Still. A clock read 2:00. She watched me pour a cup of water. If I turn this on hot, it'll turn gray. Odd. When I look at the stars outside, stars are gay. Yep. The light bulbs hummed. They woke up in the morning entangled in one another, caked in sweat and dry spit. Her mother was lying comatose on the couch, wearing the jacket of some kind of uniform. Chapter 10. Fitcher grabs what was that, house music? Fitcher grabs an unopened pack of cigarettes from an unremarkable carton sprawled around the dirty cupboard and shoves them into her backpack before meeting with Finch that day. Damn, Marlboro. A network of 40-ounce drive-in soft machines into neighborhoods nearby all jointly decide on what to do and how to act. Though divination in the form of $5 crossword lottery scratch-offs, creating wide stay-away zones and bespattered streets from petty feuds, all participating in a public death soiree, enigmatically creating very sad associations with old and rotting worlds where bandanas are used to simulate Christ consciousness in the locals, where unempathetic misanthropy is everyone's default way of life. The two are on their bikes, following one another, aimlessly moving irrelevant in the paths they take, going nowhere. Under a dry waterway by the side of the high school covered by unkempt fauna and protruding grass defenses, Fitcher nudges Finch and tells her to come look at this, opening her backpack. Cigarettes. Yes. Fitcher, in all her concentration, tries to read any sort of feeling from Finch, fear, wonder, what. She simply looks at the red and white box standing by, waiting for something to happen. Want one? Sure. She bumps out two, putting one in an uncomfortable position in her mouth, and tells Finch to open her mouth, obliging at the command, closing her eyes. Fitcher looks at the girl in front of her, still faced in anticipation, waiting for her turn. Something about this was arousing. She put her finger into Finch's mouth instead. Finch opens her eyes and looks at Fitcher. Neither move. Fitcher, caught in her own actions, laughs it off and says, "Here." She places the cigarette into Finch's mouth. The air grew humid in the cement gutter overpass. Well, according to the rules of the movies, let's try something. Fitcher flicks a stolen lighter unsuccessfully, learning fast to cup her hands around the flame. The smell of cigarette smoke rises. She postures like a boy, a dazzling master in all things cool and cunning. Come here, I'll lay yours with mine. Finch leans forward, eyes open. Cigarette in mouth. Inhale. Finch chokes and coughs. Finch chokes and coughs and drops the cigarette into putrid runoff. That's okay, we can try again. Inhale through your mouth and then into your lungs like a straw. The air becomes pleasantly familiar. You're holding it wrong. Huh? Look at me and then I'll look at you. How am I supposed to look at me? Finch repositions. Finch hands to match hers. Oh my god, this artwork is so... They sit on the bend of a dry bit of concrete. I have a headache. Fitcher grabs both cigarettes and stuffs them out. She puts her hand on top of Finch's head. Feel better? Probably. They look up at unreadable signs and symbols, words that people wrote out for a concealed recognition only between the writer and reader. Maybe they made these for themselves. Fitcher pointed at a little bit towards a small readable section in plain text. It says, I love you. I love you. No, it says I love you. Oh, do you love me? I don't know. Fitcher turns to her side to look at Finch. Fitcher reaches her arms across Finch's stomach. Finch lay still with Fitcher gripping her arm around her, hips far apart and untouched, their faces inches apart. How come you don't smile? I do. You just can't see it. Do you like me? Yes. Oh my god! The two came across a cow that had been cut in half by some great machine on the median between intersections. The other half seemingly eaten by whatever it carried here, its only purpose becoming a mild distraction from an otherwise stale day to everyone else. Fitcher mulled over the cow and all its parts. There was something profound to be said, but all that came up was vomit. Fitcher threw rocks towards moving cars over an intersection, aiming at the cow. Oh my lord, there felt like a lot of waiting. Fitcher thought it out to come out alive any second. What do you think happened to it? A car probably nicked it. Makes sense. I don't buy it. What else could have done that? A big ol' thing. Something primitive. Larger than life. Larger than death too. You ever wonder what animals see when they stare into headlights? I imagine it's bright. They must be listening on something. Paralyzing realizations that this moment is what they've been waiting for their whole lives for. And now it's dead. And now it's dead. Reckon animals go to hell? I think some might. Wonder if he told the other cows where he was going before he left. I don't think cows can speak.
Finch, how do you know?
Oh my.
Self-voicing disabled.
I'm not. It looks stupid. Wasn't anything before, wasn't anything now between those eyes. I get what you mean. Overweight policeman came and hold on, actually, can I go backwards? Okay. Sectioned off the bit of the road. A few tried to scoot the half cow off of the median and into a truck. The men laughed and pointed up and poked all inside the cow. I think it's good that the cow died. We need a good crisis every now and then. Makes the noise in our head stop, even if just for a little bit. Sounds like a boring way to live. Hope it lasts forever. Chapter 11. Fitcher ate cereal from the box, cartoned of milk in her hands in the basement of her mother's home in the forgotten part of the country where calcium lines and pipes boiling water around many miles of ranch land and the misremembered developments of abandoned American complexes far from military bases, distinctly obscure noises that she listens to at night. Barefoot through wet and tall grass patches overlooking cotton fields, planes fly over with chemicals. In her backpack, police follow vagrants from up the gas station, driving to the corner of the land behind yellow fences and open gates. She runs and trips, everything spilling, and she's digging through dirt to find Ziploc bags and things she forgot were hers. They had planned to meet today. Her doubts and unlearned dissatisfaction swallowed and replaced by the ennui of warm, damp air. Finch stood on top of a grey hill, king of a rabble. She was even paler than usual, her figure unmoving on top of the featureless green valley top, her hair tangling and untangling with the current. It was hot today. She held her hands in fists, feeling true profoundness, feeling great potential in the way the air felt. Kinetic impotence and conflicting wills brought her down from the hill and onto the street. Familiar broken glass bottles and indistinct evidence carefully stepped on over and ignored. Raising fanatics moved from door to door, asserting themselves in righteous acts of self-affirmation, with questions that everyone knew the answers to, answering only out of obligation to the piteous creatures that crawled in 90-degree heat in suits that were both too big and too small. She waited for Fitcher sitting on the corner of the street. She closed her eyes, seeing a brilliant red listening to empty hums. Fitcher walked up and stood in front of her, blocking out the sun. Fitcher opened her eyes, matching hers. Brilliant sea green Fitcher's face marked with a dumb smile smirked. Hey. The death fetishist saw the two girls from across the street and waved. Finch waved at them, walking over the men adjusted with their ties and straightening their suits. Good afternoon, ma'ams. Hello. Do you have time to speak for a moment? I think it'll do anyone a wholly good. Sure, what do you want to talk about? Well, I'm sure you could guess. The suit opened a small leather notebook and read off a quote he had written down. Happiness is not based on oneself. It does not consist of a small home, of taking and getting. Happiness is taking part in the struggle, where there is no borderline between one's own personal world and the world in general. Hold on. That's a really good quote. Hold on. I want to read that again. Alright. You know who said that? God? No. I'll give you a hint. He's quite important and he's quite dead. Jesus? The answer is Lee H. Oswald. Can't say I've heard of him. Well, that's what we're here. That's what we're here telling people things about. Our purpose is to tell everyone it. Now what do you think that means? I have no idea. Well, the world that we live in is made of things, and these things come together and they make up what surrounds us. Now, a lot of bad and evil things come together they make up a bunch of rapists, murderers, atheists, oh, you name it, a whole bunch of good for nothing nucks. Man, I don't know about the atheist part. Is this a religious thing? These evil things, well, oh, actually, no, this is a suit guy. These evil things, well, they get their fix on making you her, your mother, your father, all miserable. They breed us. Hold on, they breed with us good-natured folk and make bastards, atheist children who will then go on and, well, you know. These people, they create struggle, you see. They pop up, these evil people, they pop up and they take people, take ideas, take lives. These goddamn skeezing beasts that come into our cities and destroy what we have made. Now back to the quote. We cannot be happy just by idling by. The evil forces that will be the evil forces that will want you to sit back and do nothing. You can be alright, but you'd never be happy. Mr. Oswald knew this way back in '63. He went out and he took part in the struggle. He righteously and with deliberate intervention scrubbed the line between his world and everyone else's. Yes, this is a good thing? This a good thing? Very much so. What evil do you see in your lives? Surely there must be some that you're ignoring. It's fine. We all ignore sometimes, but we gotta be aware. Don't want our town and our churches and pretty girls like you running off and being run down. I don't think I've ever seen evil yet. It's all around you, miss. It's all around you, miss. Don't you see it? Look at the way these people treat each other. All spitting and yelling. How many of them do you think go to church? Not many, right? All these people, they're performative people. They just put on airs. All of them aren't real and they're all going to hell. The greater the amount of people, the greater the evil that surrounds them. It's even in the air. I don't think I'm no Oswald, to be honest. Well, that's alright. I thought you're evil. I'd be able to tell. The suits, 10 of them, each a pamphlet that I read, were all little lambs who have lost their way, and walked towards a retarded girl sitting in a chair across the street. They continued their efforts to revive God through the ideology of a man who accidentally shot himself twice. Damn, that's, yeah. The two propped themselves up onto the back of fence posts that outlined the vague properties eating sandwiches Fisher had made. Strange men with dogs boarded the neighborhood, bringing each dog onto the front stages of homes and lawns, assuring residents that this was paid for by the city and would be of no charge to each other or any of them tax or otherwise. They were likely testing for lead. They watched each other eat. Fisher paid attention to how Finch took bites, chewed and swallowed. Finch not really, paying attention to any one thing, eating because it was offered, fighting off the great boredom. These are the days, Fisher heard herself think. She imagined her and oh my, this look is hard. She imagined her and Finch as fish eating the bones of dead leviathan at the bottom of the sea in starving moments of communal eating. A leftover habit rooted in biological memory from when bottom feeders ate together in groups cleaning bones. Fisher hated eating in groups. The sound of chewing or swallowing was usually upsettingly vile. She counted how many bites it took for Finch to swallow, and the moments of Finch's throat listening to the sound it made. She watched her move, her tongue and her mouth. She watched her never quite blink, looking out, staring nowhere. A look that she'd be practicing. Looking out, staring. A look that she'd be practicing. That is okay. Whatever. Fisher had gotten used to it. She started to practice her own. What are you always thinking about when you stare into space? I mostly think about not being here. Like Dad? No, I wish I could just sit and look at things. Not have to sleep, not have to eat. I just want to watch time pass, that's real. And then what? I don't know. I feel like if I watch them, I can influence the outcome. I can create little stories in my head about the things that I'm looking at. When I look at people and things, sometimes it all just feels unreal. Maybe beautiful and I can't help but admire it. That's... oh my... Am I beautiful to you? In a certain way, yeah. I find you to be beautiful because of how weird you are. You're like a weirdly shaped dog. Stop being mean. You're gonna actually make me cry. I don't mean it like that. You're special. Your face is cute. You walk like there's a pebble in your shoe with your toe facing in. No, I don't. I just enjoy watching you. What do you want to do in college? I don't know. Something where I can watch people, I guess. You want to be a photographer? No, I hate those guys. They don't get it. I think I get it. Why are you sitting with me then? Because I'm the main character. You're imagining the shot right now. Fitcher grabbed Finch's hand. I think I'd be the lead. Not possible. You spend all your time brooding. How am I supposed to root for you when I don't know what you're thinking? I guess that makes sense. I guess I'm not the lead yet. Haven't figured out my character. I guess I'm not the lead yet. Haven't figured out my character. Figure we could use ourselves as inspiration? Maybe. I think I'd make a good Travis Bickle. Who's Travis Bickle? Let me search this up. He's a fictional. Oh. Taxi driver. He's like a big guy. Who? A guy from a movie. He's literally me. Oh my. How would your movies end? Something grand and deliberate. I'd let every viewer know that I was once something. Yeah? Yeah. Chapter 12. They sat in an empty schoolroom. All of the students had left by that point. The semester's routine had ended. A weird sense of unsatisfying closure paralyzed each student's makeshift summer plans. Everyone collectively feeling uncomfortable through the overwhelmingly calm of pure free will and choice. All waiting for the next distraction to buy their days away. None knowing that this is as good as it was ever going to get. Finch and Fitcher were no different. Fitcher saw herself noble and esteemed over her peers, knowing that in fact these were the days, trying to come up with words that would make up invitations to Finch, and she mediating on invisible cities all in her own head, never writing a pure Aternus in a different way. Hold on, let me check my... Oh, I gotta go to recycling bin. Oh! They each shaked on their summer promises, oddly infatuated with one another. Neither surfeited with too much time spent. Fitcher felt loved and Finch felt needed. On the days that Finch wasn't around, Fitcher would resume her base state of being, untiring, hyper-vivid daydreams of incessant, pervasively postured attacks against herself by imaginary people to burn time away. She had already been quite good at this and moved on to trying to make other people explode by looking at them strongly enough, with enough emotional conviction, a special skill of adolescents, to imagine the world adjunct to their own moves. Even when the two spent 2 days apart, no one would explode. The truth of the world was exhausting. It wasn't just boredom, she thought. There was something else too. Homesick? Maybe. She would try to switch up routines or wander around looking for Finch when she knew she was busy working with her father. Not everyone is something. She passes across Finch's house. Her father's car has a bumper sticker that read, "Gun control is mind control." The man is clearly stealing cable halfway up a telephone pole. Finch stood at the bottom, holding the ladder. He shouted confusing jargon. Finch needed to understand, passing up some tool. Hey! Finch waved from across the yard. Michael came down from the ladder and handed Finch a handful of crumpled dollars and said, "Go buy him some cigarettes and get yourself and your friend something." Michael did not believe that children could be federal agents, or ghosts. He would often sit around playgrounds when Finch was a child, just out of a comfortable range for a parent to keep watch on the other parents that came there to steal Finch and the other young ones. Finch would unintentionally stare into where her father was sitting, unintentionally alerting others of a strange man. Fitcher thought to herself that seeing Finch was a natural anesthetic. How lucky was she that most other longings go unfulfilled forever, repeating the same dates stuck in concrete bends and sealed windows. Where's to? Dunno. The day came and went immemorably. Each day was like this, each falling delibly into the past. She couldn't remember what she had done yesterday. Time had become invariable, passing with a low hum. She had heard somewhere that in heaven, time doesn't pass. It happens all the time, like, it happens all at the same time, past, present, future. Perhaps she was dead. I would explain a lot of things, she thought. The two sat on Fitcher's bed watching tapes of filler, millions of little things, of little lights pulling them in and out of reality, neither one knowing the day or the hour. It was sometime in summer. They both thought the sun had started to go down. Finch never did mention it, the mold, or the bug bites, or the way the tap turns gray. She was never cheerful nor disgusted. She simply was. The sound of moving gravel could be heard, followed by brakes. Finch hugged Fitcher and stood up. She didn't like Fitcher's mother much. She much preferred to not exist in her presence. Hold on. No more than to even give a bit of distinct courtesy. Fitcher leaned forward to try and kiss her, but Finch turned her head instead. Fitcher felt used, but this was commonplace. Finch was simply too self-conscious, she thought. Finch crawled out the bedroom window. Fitcher fell asleep, gripping her sheets, pulling the smell of Finch closer. She wakes up to the sound of breaking glass and screaming, laughing. It is now fully dark outside, and the only light comes from the kitchen. What? No! I missed it! Hold on. How to go back a slide. Red and pie. Clicking on the left edge of the screen. No! Fitcher had seen enough. How to go back in Ren Pie. Whatever, boo. Whatever, boo. Fitcher had seen enough. She went back to her room and was met with the sound of her mother moaning, mold dinky, through the walls. She went aside, grabbed her bike, and went to find Finch. Fitcher felt that she wasn't so much a person, but more of a bundle of identifiable shapes or groupings of concepts. She was also pretty tired. She wondered if Finch saw her as a person. I feel that first part a lot. She saw Finch's person walking up and down the street where Finch lived, looking upwards at streetlights in some scenarios, mouth closed. She hadn't been noticed yet, so she just stopped and watched Finch. She loved Finch. All that can be discovered was pointless in the great profoundness that a lover provides, an emancipation of sincerity and a drip of anesthetic trust. She felt her own identity develop in the acceptance that Finch gave, placing her very image of being into her care and protection. Finch was acceptably odd. Fitcher saw Finch's weird idiosyncrasies as merely cute, a K-on. Finch kept looking at the streetlights and eventually turned around and saw Fitcher. Neither surprised or glad. She acknowledged that Fitcher was, in fact, alive. Small dialogue went unheard and forgotten once it was spoken. Eye contact was a delicate matter, and Finch had gotten used to looking at Fitcher in a way that could be taken as sincere and normal. Fitcher went back home and fell asleep. Her mother and Moldenk passed out somewhere in the home. She didn't come back. Hold on. That's fine. That morning, Fitcher walked out and saw Moldenk and Eddie at the kitchen table sharing coffee and a burnt toast. Good morning, Fitcher. Your mother and I were thinking of heading out to do some stuff. Wondered if you'd want to take along. We could take you anywhere you like. What do you say? Let's go somewhere nice. You, me, and Baba. He tickled Eddie's ribs. Eddie smacked his hand away, smiling with the look of a tired whore. Baba? The two looked down at a dead dog. Its tag read, Snoopy. It had blood out from his mouth and nosed profusely behind the dumpster before collapsing at the side of the road on a bed of flowers. What happened? I don't know. I just found it like this. What do you do with it? It's your dog, right? Yeah. Finch just looked blankly at the dog-shaped meat. Are you okay? Yeah. You're awfully quiet for someone whose dog is dead. I didn't like him that much anyway. She put her tongue on the inside of her cheek, thinking about what to do with the dog. Suppose we bury it? I think I have another idea. Pick him up, let me go get something. She walked to her house calmly. Her arms never moved when she walked. I thought that was cute. Finch came back with the school backpack. Fisher followed Finch out behind her house into an area of abandoned construction and overgrown government projects. They came up to a thin wire fence, separating neglect from nature. Fisher tossed the dog over the fence and stepped over. She grabbed Finch's hands and helped her across. She picked up the dog. Where are we going? Somewhere. You looking for a good spot to bury him? Pretty much. They kept walking. Fisher kept turning her head, watching the backs of houses grow harder and harder to see. What's your dad gonna think? Doesn't matter. It began to drizzle. Are you sure you're okay? You can talk to me. I have nothing to say. Finch abruptly stopped and looked at the tree in front of her. She put down her backpack and rolled out a rope. Pulled out a rope. Fisher watched her tie the rope into a bow around the dead dog's neck and loop it around a branch, lifting the dead animal. Why? Finch sprayed the lighter fluid on the animal. She handed a box of matches to Fincher and pointed at the dog. Do it for me, please. Finch held her palm sleeve to her face, covering her mouth and nose. Fincher didn't understand, but she didn't want to upset Finch. She lit a match and tossed it towards the gasoline-soaked animal. Fire, fur, rain, rust. Finch grabbed and held Fincher's hands tight, really tight. It started to rain harder. Wind swirled the rope back and forth, spinning and unspinning, waving back and forth, burning. Finch stood beyond the dog. Fincher started the fireball. Her hand feels nice, she thought. Can you hold me? Finch opened her arms, and Fincher put her head on Finch's lap, never breaking eye contact with the flame. Finch petted Fincher's head, combing her hair through her fingers. Will you do that to me if I die? Do you fetch? I can if you wanted me to. Finch continued to pet Fisher. I don't think I would then. You're nice. Really? Yeah, I say so. You're the nicest person. They sat in the rain. The dog kept smoldering. The wire snaps. There was a thud followed by a quench. Bitter acrid smoke rose. She looked beautiful in the rain. Her body was long and delicate and softly fierce. I could see the outline of her bra. The rain stopped. Fisher and Finch stood up in unhurried thoughts. Unreality faded, and they became astutely aware of their dampness. Finch did not move. She found herself trembling, looking down at the carcass. For the first time, Fisher saw Finch cry. It had no sound. It had no motion. Their hands clumsily found one another in a warm, awkward embrace. Fincher's hands were sweaty and shaking. Fincher rubbed her thumb back and forth across Finch's hand, walking slowly and swinging the arm like lovers do. Chapter 14. Fincher sat alone in her bed, counting to the pulses she heard of the blood pass around it in between each section of her body, with uncomfortable pauses as it passed between each points of uncomfortable pleasure, especially around her temples. Bordering on insanity, the kind that incites petty frustrations kicking at a great infinite nothingness. Routine with no intention and no end. Eddie was in the kitchen with a dumb smile on her face, acrylic nails on old hands cupped together, staring forward at Moldenk, who laid back in a smug, adolescent way, as if he had made a deal to get a bigger allowance and was thinking of the extra candy he could buy now. What happened? Hey, why don't we go out as a family to the pool today? You can bring your friend. Something about the way she said it was mildly upsetting. Oh my. Perhaps cow-like, dead-eyed. Her mouth was open too long. She was too sober. Fisher and Finch stood at the lip of a publicly funded outdoor pool, an obnoxious distance from where the rest of the town was, near where parents send their kids to school wrapped in pillows and reflective tape. Fisher felt out of place when she compared Eddie to the other kids' mothers. None were quite as synthetic as far as she could tell. It was uncomfortably crowded with uppity, well-fed children. Fisher had not looked at Finch after they were brought to the pool. She simply was too lovely. Finch reached her hand to grab Fisher's to hop in. Don't touch me, I'll die if you touch me. Finch put her hands down at the back of her side and fixed a pinch in her swimsuit. Fisher held her breath, frustratingly chaste, and dove in with both arms to her side, headfirst into the deep end. Finch sat down and followed. Fisher drifted, frustrated by the inability to have skinship in a way that would look normal. She felt the day was unimaginably meaningless and hot. Fisher gently pushed Fisher's body around, watching how she made the water ripple and people move around the downward-facing body that was only turned around to breathe ever so often. Sometimes she would kick the water, angry at herself for being upset. Why did your mom take us here? Dunno. Probably got bossed something by Mold and Dinky over there. Is he your new dad? Hope not. You having fun? I think so. There's not much to it. The water's nice. Fisher felt a deep wave of acceptance with the current situation, making a conscious decision of what has or does not have meaning. Simple floating and the thought that alone was enough. Her and Finch locked arms and stared upwards through metal gates, covering their ears with water, listening to muffled screams and laughs, seeing how the sun baked everything in the red light when they closed their eyes. She imagined theaters of all people watching the same film, looking only at the black margins, interpreting what the film is with the peripheral vision. She'd be among them, looking at her everything go by and seeing indefinite nothings, but feeling the raw impersonal messages. She thought about staring into the sun and then decided not to. She closed her eyes instead, abstracting the entirety of Finch into a warm touch. They stood up dripping by a vending machine, palmed wet money, both staring into the glass, one looking at their reflection, the other at stale confectionaries and a dead rat, camouflaged in between a Hershey's and a Reese's, titled D5. You think if we pass that we get in? Oh, there's a mouse there. The rat? Yeah, why? Finch shrugged her shoulders. Probably. Finch put $1 in and pressed D5. Tiny machines churned and the rat came out halfway stuck, caught by the wire of the coil. Darn. Damn. Want me to try and reach it? Can you? Fisher got on the ground and reached for her hand up to the gap, pawing and stretching her fingers as far as she could try and flick the rat out of his hold. It was defiantly stuck. Fisher kicked the machine. The rat moved a little bit. Finch put in the other $1. Wait. Try to knock it over with something. I don't want to spend $2 on a dead rat only. Finch pressed B5, and a small bag of chips knocked the rat over and into the bottom pit. Fisher let out a small woo. Finch handed over the chips and grabbed the rat by the tail, holding it a safe distance, thinking about what to do with the prize. This is water. Oh, rat. Why? A parable. Two young fish swim past an old fish. The old fish says to them, "Morning, boys. How's the water?" They swim on a bit, and the other one says, "What the hell is water?" I don't get it. That which is obvious is hard to see. This rat had been there for a long time. People saw it and filtered it out of their sight. They saw it as an undesirable candy, maybe a starburst rather than a rat. What do we do now that we have the obvious? That's where I'm stuck. Pool? That's the first thought I had too, but that's too easy. It's no better than ignoring it in the vending machine. No better than a gimmick, and everyone sees the world in gimmicks. Gimmicks to get ahead, gimmicks to hide themselves, gimmicks to hide yourself in vending machines. Fisher nodded. If I could just figure out what this rat means, I can figure out how everyone else thinks. People see what they want to see, and what people want to see never has anything to do with the truth. Want to give it a name? Fitch. Yeah. Damn, wait, we can name it Fitch. I'm hurt. You call me a dead rat. Fitch, what are your gimmicks? Fisher grabbed the rat and held it, mimicking a falsetto, puppeting the animal. Some people don't believe in God, but they color eggs to change up days. I'm not reclusive at all. I'm just private. Without me, there's nothing. Fisher put down the rat. The two stared at it. Want to throw it in the pool? Yeah. Nobody acknowledged the floating gray thing in the water. After a few minutes, it sank. They sat on the back of Eddie's car on the ride home, each staring out the passenger windows, tuning out monosyllable conversations that the adults were having. Finch and Fisher both fell asleep and their bodies leaned on one another, each not entirely unconscious, watching sunlight enter and fade, intense reds through their eyes interrupting. Fisher thought that Finch's body had smelled nice with chlorine. She placed her hand on the top of hers. They pulled into the driveway to their home. They all walked inside. Finch did her usual of walking past the trash and sat on Fisher's bed. Fisher, come here for a second. Fisher walked into the kitchen where Eddie and Moldenk sat stern. Me and Moldy are getting married. Okay. We're going to move on base with them. The future belonged to everyone else except her. The world was going to end. Fisher was never good at crying. Love, which is a simple thing, has no decisive overarching narrative, but it is felt most strongly in a complete and total instant, a single brief moment that vies with imitations in a contest to kill all those who experience in a profound and simplistic misery a break pull. We had been everywhere and we had really seen nothing, she thought. Fisher felt her existence abruptly end and made herself live in visions where each day forward jumbled into a frustratingly lonely, cynical tumor. She tightly hugged Finch, spreading her entire body across hers as an act of resistance, locking Finch's arms down a pin. This isn't fair. Nothing even happened. We never got to do anything. It can't end here. When exactly do you leave? Day after tomorrow. You seem too calm. I don't see a point in getting upset too. Don't you at least like me? I like you a lot. Doesn't mean that I need to overreact for you. You know how this ends? Yes. Have you ever tried to stop it? Everyone tries in their own ways, but nothing will work in a way that's satisfying. You know that though. No, I don't. What if you ran away? And go where? The world is pretty big. Somewhere else. I don't want to be alone. It's a matter of fact thing. Even with me here, were you less alone than before? What kind of question is that? I'm just a warm body. You being here was enough. Fitch's voice quivers. And now the world is going to end. The world will never end. It simply never is, and is never anything but the end of an illusion. So nothing we did was real. It was all uniquely real to each of us. It was just a piece of something much longer. I don't understand why this is happening to me. I understand. I want to run away. I think you'd find that pretty hard. Don't you want to at least try? I go wherever you go until you don't need me. Don't say that. I love you. It'll be okay. Why did you fall in love with me? What part of me made your heart race? I wanted to be held and you seem different. Don't you? Do you still think that? I'll think that for a very long time. I like to live a day after day, night after night after day. I really love you. It's not like I'm dying, but I won't get to see you. I imagine the story though. I don't want to be in a story. I don't want to be in a story. I want to be held. Where do you want to go? Far away. Take me somewhere nice then. Fisher wiped her face on the blanket and headed out the back window. Each girl rode out on bikes into the neighborhood. Misty and coarse yellow lights hummed. Telephone poles and electrical wires all skewed and stuck into places made a great dense weight of an inevitable ends twist Fisher's heart. She felt like she was going to die, her heart kneeling over and piercing. How infinitely frustrating for Fisher that her entire life had become wasted. A total and net sum of zero, a great and profound nothing in which the absence of any sort of substance occurred, to which she understood very little. Events turned into ideas and memories she held only inflicted the most awkward of pains. Nostalgic for a moment she currently experienced. To live and not see that which is in front of her, living solely in her head, creating imaginative diagrams and experiences that never compared to the real thing. The real thing that she had fallen in love with was being a powerful thing, but one that could not follow and she could not stay. A powerless and futile struggle to try and do anything about the other than fallen into a child's attempt at trying to control their own lives. A type of struggle that she knows will come to another nothing, and one that will only be looked on as a meek act of opposition in a system that leaves her lost and alone and afraid. She grasped mentally, desperately trying to find it out, a way to live forever, and a way to experience this moment over and over, riding bikes with Finch. Finch being her only attachment to the world, her own self-value and identity held within Finch's mind, who she admits personally in the back of her head. Did not understand, but harbors a deep affection towards. Perhaps sometime, in a less miserable place, they'd meet again. She only saw the end. Only the end was understandable. Only the end of everything was comprehensible. Death was an impossible alternative, an act that meant nothing except spite towards being chewed to get chewed on more. Chewed to get... Brother! Death was an impossible alternative, an act that meant nothing except spite towards being chewed to get chewed no more. She was meat. A very sad piece of meat. Oh, I remember. A dark wind blows. Finch had never said that she loved her. She knew that Finch wasn't artificial. I don't know if that means something. She couldn't find any reason for her life to be so she cursed God. It simply was not meant to be. No, she figured she simply did not deserve happiness. Nobody deserved to be happy. Everything that she did was for nothing, and all that she craved and ever had wanted would be taken away by artificial forces and invisible games played by those two who had never heard their own thoughts in their heads. She cemented her thoughts as a victim and got mad, pedaling harder and exhaustively up the street that she had never gone. Vision going blurry, unable to find a way to exert her own existence on the outside. They continued up the one-way street that went on forever in silence, playing a pretend game of what it means to be human. Oh. Fisher, out of breath, only then realized the great futility in what she was trying to do. There was no out, no better place, no profound something, no semblance of purpose in what she was doing. It was time being wasted in false hollows attempts at trying to cheat at the game. Time that could be better spent trying to find a nice ending that would have at least some sort of meaning. There was no purpose in trying. The powers that have already decided have already decided the action and result. The result and the human consequence. It was simple and in deliberate fate this would happen. And in Fitcher's life, a gift among a lifetime of mediocre, self-entitled, menistic, skewed ideas. It was more than unfair, she thought. It was wholly uncruel that everyone else could go on and continue and live life uninterrupted. She conceded. Let's go to a nice park. Finch was a quiet, unsolvable person. A person made up of traits and things that Fisher had watched her do. She loved her either way, understanding or blind. She felt a profound moment of peace among waves of stress that all told her life was going to end in some moments. Caught up in frustration, knives pointing inwards. She understood the idea of everything and the reality of nothing. Reality ceased to be. Perhaps it was that she was autistic. Oh. There was no overall meaning, no message, all nights spent brooding and developing to a bottomless infinite truth only for it to be unusable. Triumphed by how human she felt. Her skirt sticking to her skin, she looked back, seeing Finch starry-eyed and intense. Had she already figured this out? They eventually found their way to the park at the edge of the city. They were on a park bench. A blind man sat, overlooking a vast nothing, with infinity behind him. Great clouds formed and hummed. A small radio was on his side. Evening, girls. Beautiful day, isn't it? They stopped and stared at the blind man. Yeah, it is. Nice. Fisher began to cry. Tears welled and fell. She didn't know why. Must be very beautiful. I wish I could see it too. Do you feel it? What? The rapture. How do you know? You don't see the sky, you don't feel the air, it's everywhere. It's been coming for weeks. I've been sitting here waiting for it to happen. You've ever seen one? Do you mean a tornado? They're very similar. Turn a tornado on its side and it becomes a portal to heaven. Paradise, so it's called. A whole bunch of souls picked... Okay, I have to drink water. This book is giving me chills, man. I love this writing. A whole bunch of souls panicked and then thrown to meet God. People don't realize that the rapture happens every day. Ever notice how tornadoes never hit California? New Sodom exists in the cities that surround Los Angeles. The rapture only takes those who are ready, and that's people like you and me, existing sin-free in small cities where conviction is so strong that God sends his angels to pick us up and meet him. Every day entire towns are wiped out, but it's not for nothing. We were simply ready. And I feel it now. I'm ready. I'm guessing you came out here because you felt it too? It began to rain. Clouds spiraled, celestial sirens perked up and went off across the city. Finch stood in the middle of a blank park in awe, her pale eyes on fire staring upwards. What is that? Tornado sirens. Holy shit. Why does it sound like that? Like, it's so beautiful. Finch hadn't figured it out. It was very beautiful. Fisher stood at Finch, standing in total stillness, staring at the clouds coalescing into abstract shapes in the sky. Wind blowing rain wideways into little daggers, cutting through and creating something truly profound. Fisher sat down underneath a rusted bus stop awning. Finch stood still, listening to ancestral calls, writing the divine feeling of having it figured out, in total and utter awe and marvel. The beautiful, beautiful marvel. For the first time in the weeks that she had known Finch, the smile was full of intense sincerity. Her entire face seemingly yearned for this specific moment, this moment of clarity. And in that moment, the rain stopped. Then the wind stopped, then the siren stopped, then Finch stopped, paralyzed in place by sheer reverence. She had the face of someone who had finally fallen in love, venerated admiration for something very, very beautiful. She sat down next to Fisher, still smiling, her hands gripping her soaked shirt. The day with us cares and perplexities is ended and the night is now upon us. The night should be a time of peace and tranquility, a time to relax and to be calm. We have need of a soothing story, to banish the disturbing thoughts of the day, to set at rest our troubled minds and put at ease our ruffled spirits. And what sort of story shall we hear? It will be a familiar story. To banish the disturbing thoughts of the day, to set at rest our troubled minds. Oh, I could have used the scroll wheel to go back. Okay. A story that is so very, very old and yet so new. It is the old story of love. Two lovers sat on a park bench with their bodies touching each other, holding hands in the moonlight. There was silence between them. So profound was their love for each other, they needed no words to express it. And so they sat in silence on a park bench with their bodies touching, holding hands in the moonlight. Finally she spoke. "Do you love me, Finch?" "Do you love me, Finch?" she asked. "You know I love you, darling," she replied. "I love you more than the tongue can tell. You are the light of my life, my sun, moon, and stars." Oh. How do I go back? Okay. You are my everything. Without you, I have no reason for being. Again, there was silence as the two lovers sat on a park bench, their bodies touching, holding hands in the moonlight. "One more," she spoke. "How much do you love me, Finch?" she asked. She answered. "How much do I love you? Count the stars in the sky. Measure the waters of the ocean with a teaspoon. Number the grains of sand on the seashore. Impossible, you say? Yes, and it is just impossible for me to say how much I love you. My love for you is higher than the heavens, deeper than Hades, and broader than the earth. It has no limits, no bounds. Everything must have an ending except my love for you." There was more silence as the two lovers sat on a park bench with their bodies touching, holding hands in the moonlight. Once more her voice was heard. "Kiss me, Finch," she implored. And leaning over, she pressed her lips warmly to hers in fervent osculation. Oh. Shirk. Oh my... This book... This is so fucking good. Yeah, I'm about to cry. Alright. That was so good, man. Oh my god. Yo, I'm about to cry. This is so good. Alright, see you later, guys. This was... Oh my...